This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Introduction. Germination, which is responsible for the propagation of plants, requires moisture, warmth, and oxygen to liberate stored energy from the cotyledon. Thereafter, light is needed to help shoots from the germinated seeds to manufacture food for plant growth via photosynthesis. However, it is observed that seeds of certain plants fail to germinate even in the presence of water, moisture, and oxygen. This observation indicates that light, a fourth factor, is needed for germination. Consequently, plants can be grouped into three groups based on their need for light for germination. Positively photoelastic plants need light for germination, while negatively photoelastic plants require darkness for the same process. In contrast, neutral photoelastic plants can germinate with or without light. Seed size is also thought to influence seed germination in the presence and absence of light. For example, small seeds are reported to be positively photoelastic, whereas large seeds are negatively photoelastic. Knowledge of the effects of light on germination is important in the proliferation of wild species to ensure their survival, as well as to provide different plant species with optimal conditions to boost their productivity. Based on the impact of seed size on the light requirement for germination, it was hypothesized that pea seeds would germinate well in the absence of sunlight than in the presence of sunlight. The purpose of this experiment was to use the scientific method to investigate the effect of light on the germination and growth of seeds. 10 pea seeds and 10 pots were provided. The pots were filled with potting soil, after which one seed was placed into each of the pots and pushed 1 centimeter into the soil using a finger. 5 pots for the negative controls, not exposed to sunlight, were labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. A similar labeling approach was used for the treatment groups, peas grown in the presence of sunlight. All pots were watered with the same quantity of water every other day from day 0 to the last day of the experiment. The seeds were observed every day for germination. The length of the plants was measured in centimeters and recorded every day using a metric ruler. Data. The pea seeds germinated faster in the absence of light than in the presence of sunlight, as shown by the absence of germinated seeds by day 7 in pots kept in sunlight. Also, a faster growth rate was realized in the absence of sunlight than in the presence of sunlight, as indicated by the height of the plants by the end of the experiment. Plants grown without sunlight attained a mean height of 23 centimeters, while plants growing in sunlight reached 9 centimeters. However, the plants growing in the absence of sunlight had thin stems and small leaves, whereas those growing in the sunlight had thick stems and large, broad leaves. Analysis. The findings of the experiment supported the hypothesis that pea seeds would germinate well in the absence of sunlight than in the presence of sunlight. This observation can be attributed to the size of pea seeds. Simlat and co-authors reported that small-seeded plants germinated only when sunlight was available to evade growing deep in the soil. This adaptation prevents the plant from exhausting its food reserves in the cotyledons before accessing light for photosynthesis. Factors such as the moisture content of soil, color, and size of soil particles are known to interfere with the penetration of light through the soil. Consequently, beneficial light rarely penetrates more than half a centimeter through the soil. In this experiment, variations such as seed depth, soil particle size, moisture content, and soil type were controlled by using the same type of soil, planting all seeds at the same depth, and watering all plants with similar quantities of water at the same time. It was also noted that plants growing in the sunlight had thick stems and large, broad leaves than those growing without sunlight. This observation could be because they were able to photosynthesize more effectively than those growing in the shade. Photosynthesis is the process through which plants use light energy to manufacture sugars from water and carbon dioxide. Chlorophyll in the leaves of plants traps light of various wavelengths from the sun for photosynthesis. Simlat and others report that plants respond differently to the various components of light. For example, blue light promotes the development of leaves and roots and influences the number and rhythm of stomata. Conversely, red light augments the length of stems and roots but does not favor the synthesis of chlorophylls and carotenoids. It was likely that growing peas in sunlight promoted the absorption of red light. Conclusion. The findings of this experiment led to the conclusion that light did not influence the germination of pea seeds. However, the light was crucial for the healthy development of pea plants. Therefore, peas should be exposed to light to thrive. This essay on light effects on pea seeds germination was written and submitted by a student just like you. The IvyPanda Samples database hosts thousands of works similar to this one on various subjects. Visit ivypanda.com to find what you are looking for, free of charge.